8. Chapter number 8, inshallah. Okay. There was some. Before I do Quran, inshallah, there was the one narration I wanted to share with you, which I think is a good narration for after Ramadan. Zakaria does nasiha with you. What's he doing with you now? Arba'un. Hadith study, doesn't the hadith study with you? So what are you doing? Put hadith first, right? I think Arba'un Nawawi. Ramadan, Arba'un Ramadaniya. Yeah? Okay. Or maybe before the hadith, maybe just hear your thoughts. I've been potentially just considering changing the format of the Sunday class for Dawrah years. I think for a number of years, I've been going back and forth, because as you think about the institute, you kind of think about the needs of the student and the time you're at and so on. So historically, Mizan has always been only a Quran institute. We only did Quran, and we did Quran a lot faster actually. We do Quran a lot slower now. And that's for a number of reasons, but one of the reasons also is that because as the teachers learn more, they speak more. It's just the nature of things, when it's your first day out of, I started Mizan as like a third year student. I was like a third, like after a third year student, you only like really can say so many things. So that's what Muhammad speaks the most. So what I'm saying is like the longer you study and the longer you're in the field, the more you say. Yahya is a special person. So I think Mona Zakaria and I started this as students. I think Mona Zakaria was probably second year or something. Like he was a very young student and I was like a third year student. We were like young. We were still young by the time. We were like young, very young. I mean, like kids. So we used to go through the Quran quite much faster actually because we just did like basic translation and so on. Alhamdulillah. So now with time things have changed. But the consequence of that now is that it will naturally take much longer to make a khatam of the Quran. And so like one of the questions that the person asks is like, is the khatam the important thing? Because previously like the khatam was like we go, when you finish, okay, 5 years, 6 years, okay, we do it. What I mean, like a quarter. You must do half a page, you must do a page, you must move to get to the khatam. And as time goes by, like one wonders, like, is that khatam really like the objective, or is the journey, like the quality of the journey actually the objective? The fact that we're doing maybe 4 verses, but it's like a solid 4 verses. I could do the same 4 in like 4 minutes. Like literally you could just like translate them and like give 1, 2 comments and move on. So that's like something that has probably changed in the nature of the institute. I don't know how you feel about that. Like in terms of that, like coverage versus detail. It's a difficult balance because you don't also have so much detail that there's like no coverage, but also you want to, I mean, I don't know how you feel about it. Do you like all the detail or you prefer? Okay, anyway, so I mean, I prefer the detail because it makes it like interesting. Because you like feel like I feel like the institute now is at the point where it's not about the translation, it's actually about the tafsir more actually. Because translations are readily available, so people like, I must come to listen to translation, I can just read it or listen to Voice of the Cape. The guy there, that guy there, the Voice of the Cape, he does translation all the time. That American accent guy. When they play it. So I think that's the one change. And then the other change is, other consideration is that we've always, like to some extent, like interspersed the journey with like different subjects. But it's been a bit like random. Like at one stage, I did a bit of Shemail, did Midi. At other stage, I did like Hidayah, the beginning of guidance. I think we might have done some fiqh for a few weeks. We're doing a bit of hadith now. Like this hadith is like an interspersion of another subject, which is like, it's okay. But I think it's it's an unstructured interspersion. Like we just decide, okay, let's do some of this now, and okay, bismillah, let's start with some of that now. So what I've been thinking about is potentially changing the course into like half Quran and half Islamic sciences. But in a formal way. You like formally do fiqh and aqidah and hadith, and you do this Islamic sciences like in a formal way. Not like like it's structured with books and textbooks and like a proper syllabus. But the half Quran is still like in the same format as it is now. So I was thinking about doing that. I'm not sure about the details of what they do or how they do it, but so I'd like to hear your thoughts. There's an in-class or online survey. What do you think of that? So basically, I think I'm still speaking to Zakaria and still have some discussion about it, but the idea was that your first 2 years are like, we really, and also even like the Nahu, we've been dragging a little bit, like we drag it third, fourth year. So we really push everything into your first 2 years. So at the end of your first 2 years, there is no more babs, there's no more, like your first 2 years is like solid, like you're just like going for it. And then after that, you finish with it. We'll put like explainer videos on and so on for revision, but I think that we want to, push that into your 2 years, like your 2 years, you do basically do all the stuff you're doing now, maf'ul mutlaq, maf'ul li ajlihi, Dawrah, whatever you're doing now, of Nahu, Manna, Zakaria, and all the babs. We do everything in your first 2 years. Easily. Very easy. Because the babs can easily be done, because only 10 babs, you can do in 1 year. And the grammar stuff is only like about 22 things or so, of which you do about 8 of them in first year. So it's a very fine, like grammar and sarf in Arabic is a very finite world. To get the basic concept is a finite journey. To go beyond the basics is an endless journey. But to get like the concept, name, and the basic definition is a finite journey. You with me? There's like, for example, there's only like so many verbs that exist in Arabic. There's only so many verb tenses. There's only 6 things in Rafun. Yeah, and so in first and second year, I think you'll do yourself, and also I think you must do reader. I think reader is important, and I think Quran we must do from your first year all the way through. But I'm saying like you probably don't do other sciences in your second year, or I'll think exactly. But I'm talking more about Dawrah year now, like your year now. Those of you not second year. Well, Zakaria loves that stuff. Oh, wow, mashallah. Yeah. Mm. Okay, I think that's a good point. Any other ideas, even online also? So the idea basically I'm thinking about is that like when it comes to, because I was thinking of doing midweek Mizan classes, like picking up Peter, but midweek is like, there's a reason I've been thinking about it for a number of years not doing it. Because it's just like hard to put more commitments in one's life. So then I'm thinking maybe let's like Sunday is like your dean day, Sunday school. And you just get like you just get all the Islamic studies you need. You come to Sunday and you get like whatever you need. Nothing, just keep the sun and up and now you can take anything midweek again. No. No, it will be book based. So basically, the style is always going to be book based. No, if it's book based, it'll always have like an English translation at the minimum. So if it's doing any science, aqidah or fiqh or hadith studies or whatever we're doing, it must always be, it must have an English component, preferably add a little bit of Arabic as well, but definitely English component. But the teacher will always add a lot more detail to it. Generally, it's actually easier to teach when the text is short. The text is long, is like makes it hard to teach. No. Any other thoughts? Or anybody thinks prefers, doesn't prefer it? It's like it's okay to get different thoughts as well. We'll probably send out like a formal survey. Like who like supports it? Who like thinks it's a good idea? Like a quick survey. Okay. The only thing I must work out is that how the Dawrah classes work, because obviously if you do fiqh, then the class coming in needs to do fiqh again. So I'm just work out. You probably have like a Dawrah crop that just moves and no one joins it. But we'll see how it works, inshallah. But I think it's exciting also. I think also just from I think that the Quran, I mean, one always enjoys the Quran, but one does feel a need for other, because the teacher will mention the other science and they'll mention like bits of it. Then you'll hear like a bit of this and a bit of that, and you're like, what are these bits I need to learn? Yeah, so I'm thinking like a Dawrah cycle. So it's like a 4-year Dawrah cycle, and then you cycle out that. So we'll see how it goes. No, no, I think generally the style will be an Arabic text, but it depends on the subject as well. But the style will generally be an Arabic text, like a classical. Yes, 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 yes. Okay, so I think we'll. Any other thoughts on it online?
Yeah, sorry, Maulana, I just got one comment. I think from an Arabic point of view, I think by learning every week, but more and more, it actually makes one appreciate the hadith and Maulana Zakaria is doing. Me personally, actually understand how you can apply your Arabic. So I think having a solid understanding Arabic language and doing all the detail has really helped me to actually appreciate more the non-Quranic text. So I think for me personally, I would say I would want to be very strong. I love the detail, so I can actually enjoy, even though you go into the Islamic other sciences, because now I know my Arabic is actually, actually quite, I would say well versed, because I'm learning more about the detail. Because like you say, the translation, you can pick up any translation and just read it. But now I understand why there's a fatha, why there's a dhamma, what part of the speech we're talking about. So, and that makes me enjoy the hadith and all the other books even more. So I feel I wouldn't want to lose it. I think just doing a harta for the sake of completing it, I don't think that should be the goal. That's not the goal for me. My goal is I can know each and in the letter of the Quran. I know the reason why as much as possible. And that makes me enjoy the hadith now more, I think.
No, barakallah. So yes, so definitely, and I think also the advantage of a short text, like if you're doing a short Arabic text, something Najah or some Aqidah text, is that if you want to engage in the Arabic, it's actually very little to prepare, because you can only teach about 3 lines a week. Sometimes like you teach about 3 words a week, but with the short text in fiqh and Aqidah, they actually require a lot of explanation. So for an Arabic student, a part-time student, it's actually quite easy, because you must only prepare like 4 lines of Quran, like 8 lines of Quran, like 4 lines of Hadith. Like it's, even though it's a few subjects, it's not a lot of, it's like maybe like a page of Arabic a week plus a reader, maybe 2 pages. So it's like a manageable amount of Arabic for you to grasp, inshallah. No. Yes, yes. Yes, yes. Yes, yes. So I think there's generally a big gap in terms of the whole bab of mu'amalat is not very well known among society. I mean, fiqh is actually just two things. Ibadat, which is your five pillar stuff, which like is a ton of classes on it, a ton of classes, and it's like mu'amalat, which is like your human interactions. Whether it's interactions in terms of trade or in terms of family law or in terms of laws of the state. Those are not really studied very often for a number of reasons. One, because some are not applicable, because we don't have Islamic states, so some of the obviously the laws, the penalties are not going to apply. And number two, also because we live in this different dominant culture. So we just like, when it comes to trade, we just accept, you go to a lawyer and they do the trade for you because it's like, you go to the shop and you buy something because the trade is almost like outside, it's like it's outside of Islam in a sense because on this Muslim society. So mu'amalah definitely is like in general, it's a focus that's needed. Like even your zakah, not your zakah, your inheritance and all of those things are all like important aspects, which is not actually known. The Hadith of the Prophet says that the first signs that will be lifted from people will be inheritance. That will become a time actually when you won't be able to find someone who can do inheritance. So it indicates that branch of science is actually going to be the first that is removed. And you can see now it's actually the least. It's not taught very much. So yeah, so it's something that needs to be studied as well. So not just Islamic finance, the whole bab of mu'amalat needs to be studied, inshallah. So like you can sit here for a number of years if you want. I mean, like what I'm saying is that there's a lot of sciences. Like there's a lot of sciences, and the sciences can occupy you for. I'm not even talking about the different books in this. I'm saying just doing one basic introduction of each science does take maybe like 4 to 5 or 6 years. It takes like a number of years to do an introduction to each of the sciences. So it depends on where we stop with the journey. We'll see, inshallah. But we put together. Eh? Do you want testing? I always thought that we should make a testing component, but it's an offline component, and then you held accountable differently. Now the aunties are nowhere in testing, and the Buddhas don't have the glasses, so they can't test. but I do think there must be some sort of yes. Yeah. Okay, it's a good point also. For Quran also. Testing. Yes, yes. That is difficult, not easy. Okay. Which topic are now? Did you finish the Rahman things? Yeah, it means about you probably got about there's only like when it comes to jar, there's only two things. There's only you know the two already. That's the mudaf and the ism majrur. That's the only two jar things. And then there's 4 things called tawabi, which is followers. Followers, maybe one of them, 2 of them, one follower is going to be sifa mawsuf. Mawsuf is always a follower of the sifa. So there's 4 of those. So I think there's about 6 topics left. 6 topics left. So the 4 followers you must do, and the 2 jar stuff, which you did already, but you will do it again now. And then maybe 2 more things. So about 8. So 4 plus 6 plus maybe 8 things. They will finish there. Yeah. Actually, Masul is not it's not a grammar label type of word. Like alladhi, allati, it's a type of word. So I think you must separate between, when you say a nahu concept, we generally refer to something that has raf, nasb and jar for a reason. Like you say, fa'il is rafun because it's a doer. Maf'ul bi is nasb because it's a done upon. Doing something like a damir is a huwa or whom. It's just like a type of word. but it's not a grammar label. They will say the damir is the maf'ul bi. You with me? So I think we just separate those things in your mind. Like a damir is a type of word. A silatul mawsul is a type of ism mawsul is a type of word. You know what I mean? So it's not like a rough nasb jar thing. It's just a type of word. But I think that with Mal Zakaria giving you notes at the end of that cycle, then will be a textbook available. I know, like, not having textbook is part of the confusion. So that confusion, inshallah, will come to an end now when it's published. I mean, the first day we have a textbook, so second textbook is coming, inshallah. But I think the textbook is important, but I think the organic engagement with Arabic is the most important thing. The most important thing is the fact that you're reading, listening, translating, that organic engagement. Because what happens naturally, if I read Arabic, I don't always like think about Nahu. I do think about it, but it's not like you get there's like a natural logic that comes to the Arabic. That's not. It's like when you're driving, you don't necessarily think that to pull away I must put into first gear. It's not a conscious thought, man. It's not like, but you do it because it becomes automatic. So the Nahu is just there to get you into that automatic gear where it just, you don't actually have to think about it anymore. Yeah. Is it? Let's add and read it in classes. Oh. Oh. Yeah, for example, yeah, well, atishu fi. I mean, like you won't even like know it's missing it because you don't like even you don't like what's harkat missing is really. So you say there's a fee there, there's no fee there, so no, eventually it all goes away. No. Okay, Bismillah, let's do some Quran. Bi'idhnillahi ta'ala.